Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to a monumental day in the history of Georgia State University. I'm Dave Cohen, the radio voice of Panther Athletics, and it's a pleasure to be here with you today. It's a very exciting day, and at this time it's my pleasure to introduce our distinguished panel with us here this afternoon. Seated on stage, beginning at my far left, is Dr. Jack Hawkins, Jr. He's the Chancellor of Troy University and the Sun Belt Conference President. Dr. Mark Becker, President of Georgia State University, Cheryl Levick, Georgia State University's Director of Athletics, and Carl Benson, the Commissioner of the Sun Belt Conference. And at this time, as we move along, I'd like to welcome to the podium the Commissioner, Carl Benson.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the 11 member universities of the Sun Belt Conference and the presidents and chancellors, welcome to today's press conference. It's truly my pleasure to be in Atlanta today to be part of this special occasion and for this announcement that is so important in the history of both Georgia State and the Sun Belt. The two parties have much in common, going back to the founding of the Sun Belt in 1976, as Georgia State was a founding member, charter member of the Sun Belt. But today, 36 years later, both Georgia State and Sun Belt look much different than they did back in 1976. Academic and athletic characteristics have changed considerably, and both are on the verge of taking the next step to greatness, and we look forward to that partnership in doing so. With today's announcement, the Sun Belt gets bigger, but more importantly, gets better with the addition of Georgia State. And under the leadership of President Becker and Cheryl Levick, the Sun Belt is very confident that Georgia State will have immediate success in the Sun Belt, and it won't be long before that Georgia State teams will be winning Sun Belt championships, that Georgia State student athletes will be participating in Sun Belt championships and NCAA championships and NCAA bowl games. It truly is a partnership where both the Sun Belt and Georgia State are in similar positions with tremendous upside, tremendous potential. The Sun Belt looks forward to adding the state of Georgia to the collection of states, and especially the city of Atlanta and the entire Atlanta community. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Chancellor of Troy University and the President of the Sun Belt Conference Board of Directors, Dr. Jack Hawkins.
Thank you, Commissioner Benson. And what a pleasure it is to be with you this afternoon. I would hasten to say how proud we are to have Carl Benson as our new commissioner. He was the commissioner of the MAC for 18 years, commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference, and most recently came to the Sun Belt to provide leadership. And I can assure you all the member institutions are excited by the leadership in this conference. Likewise, we're excited by the announcement today. I report to you, and I'm very proud to report to you that academically, athletically, and financially, the Sun Belt has never been stronger than it is today. However, I think we add yet another strength to this conference with this announcement. And so on behalf of the board, the CEOs, and all affiliated with the Sun Belt Conference, Dr. Becker, it's a real pleasure for me, on behalf of the conference, to invite Georgia State University as our next member. Welcome home.
right side up. Well, good afternoon, and thank all of you for being here on this wonderful day in the life of Georgia State University. Mr. Commissioner, Chancellor Hawkins, on behalf of the university, I am pleased to formally accept the invitation to join the Sun Belt Conference. The process of getting to this day started with a careful and detailed analysis of the feasibility of Georgia State making the move to an FBS conference. And that analysis showed very clearly that GSU is well positioned for the move to FBS, and that the Sun Belt Conference in particular provides an excellent fit for our athletics program. Georgia State's move to the Sun Belt is a bit like deja vu all over again. As has been noted, Georgia State was one of the 6 founding members of the Sun Belt back in August of 1976. I'm not going to tell you where I was in August of 1976, but was not at this level. With our re-entry into the Sun Belt, we look forward to adding value to the conference, and we look forward to the gains accruing to Georgia State as a full member institution in the Sun Belt Conference. There's every reason to expect that today's announcement will yield significant benefits for both the Sun Belt Conference and for Georgia State for many years to come. And at Georgia State, we're particularly excited about the leadership and vision that the university presidents and Commissioner Benson are providing the Sun Belt Conference as we look forward to the future together. Now, Georgia State was founded in 1913. We celebrate our centennial next year. The same year that this agreement will be the same year that we officially enter the Sun Belt Conference for competition. And joining the Sun Belt Conference is just one example of how GSU is continually raising the bar on itself for excellence in athletics as well as in education, research, and literally everything that we do. We expect our second 100 years to be even more transformational than the first 100. And we are delighted that we will kick off our second century competing in the Sun Belt Conference. So at this time, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce the woman that's been working behind the scenes tirelessly for months to make this day possible. Please welcome Director of Athletics, Georgia State University, Cheryl Levick.
Thank you, President Becker. Thank you, Chancellor Hawkins. Thank you, Commissioner Benson. On behalf of Georgia State Athletics, over 350 student athletes, and every coach that's in this room, I'm delighted to stand before you as the newest member of the Sun Belt Conference. For the past 3 years, the athletic department has worked tirelessly to build a top-notch athletic department and build a solid foundation in our football program. Yes, you all know the story. We built this program from scratch. You've all heard about the 1 player, the 2 helmets, and the 7 coaches. Well, let me tell you, Coach Curry has done a fabulous job under his leadership to take significant steps to building this program into the Division I powerhouse that it is. And we know we've got a long way to go, and we've taken many strides so far. We have many to go, but one of the biggest strides we've taken, it's today, folks. We've taken a big step up to the Sun Belt Conference, because the Sun Belt Conference is just one of the 11 conferences in the nation who are members of the Bowl Championship Series. FBS, folks, FBS. The journey to this day did begin 5 months ago when we commissioned a feasibility study by Collegiate Consulting to really look at and evaluate the landscape of the BCS and see if Georgia State might fit in. The report concluded that we were well positioned to make a move to the FBS. 9th media market in the country, great city of Atlanta. We play in the Georgia Dome, and oh yes, the biggest thing, over the last 2 years, our fans, all of you in the room, have contributed to us averaging over 15,000 fans a season for the last 2 seasons, the first 2 seasons of our football program. The study also concluded that the Sun Belt Conference would be a great fit. We agree, and we welcome the opportunity to build regional rivalries with schools within driving distance, I might add, such as Troy University, South Alabama, Middle Tennessee State, and Western Kentucky. Under Dr. Becker's leadership, Georgia State is growing in size and stature as one of the nation's leading urban research institutions. So it is only fitting that our athletic program move to the top level of collegiate athletics. Being a member of an FBS conference gives us the opportunity to play in bowl games and on national television. It will increase our exposure and notoriety for Georgia State athletics and for the entire university. It will be very exciting to see all 19 of our varsity sport programs play under the Sun Belt banner beginning in July 2013. We look forward to being an integral player in the ambitious plans that Commissioner Benson has for this conference. His plans to further expand this conference and rebrand it are exciting. And we want him to consider making Atlanta your new home for your conference office. Put the plug out there, why not? As well as hosting Sun Belt football, Sun Belt basketball championships, and any other Sun Belt championship we can host and hopefully win. I thank Chancellor Hawkins and Commissioner Benson for this opportunity. And just to let you know that we do keep moving with new opportunities. We are a little bit fast-paced, and so our marketing staff has been a tad busy since Friday when we officially accepted this invitation. So Tiffany, if you're there, I don't know if we can see it on the podium, but if you look at the two monitors, I'd like to show you the step one of our new marketing campaign. Tiffany? What we're trying to do is pull out of the Panthers and into the Sun Belt. I also like to officially present to Commissioner Benson a Georgia State football helmet for him to take back to the current Sun Belt office. Sorry, just have to keep doing that. To signify our new place in the Sun Belt Conference as a football member. Commissioner Benson? And I will conclude my remarks by saying that we will do one more thing to proclaim our acceptance of this invitation by saying this truly has been a banner day for Georgia State athletics and Georgia State University.
At this time, we want to take some questions from members of our media that are here, and I believe they're all seated down here in the front. Just questions from the media, please, to begin with. And we have a microphone here as well down front, so anybody that has a question for any of our panelists, Doug down front from the Journal-Constitution.
I've got a few. For Becker and Levick, did this move up to FBS happen sooner than you thought, according to any timeline that you may have originally had when you started the football program?
It's impossible to say sooner or later because there wasn't an exact timeline. I mean, we grew the program. I mean, Bill Curry and I had this conversation when we came in, and you know, when Bill Curry and I first met December 2008, he was about the whole football program. Our first recruit showed up about a month later. At that point, it was just getting the program up, getting it launched in 2010. As we've gone along, it's you know, doing everything as we could to make it a quality program. But really, this actual starting to look at potential dates didn't start in earnest till December 2011 when we started the feasibility study. That was the point with all the movement in intercollegiate football, all the conference movement that was taking place, decided that it would be unwise if we didn't actually assess where we were and what our opportunities were. So I wouldn't say it's sooner or later. It's just we've been growing so fast, we've come so far in so little time. But in December 2011, it was time to get serious and see what the opportunities were, because there's been so much movement in the country in the last year.
We didn't have a timeline. President Becker is absolutely right. We have been keeping a pulse and abreast of all the changes. I mean, there's been over 20 changes in conference alignments over the last 9 years, and we needed to make sure we stayed on top of that. So It really was with just normal conversations with President Becker at our bi-monthly meetings about, okay, what are we doing, what's happening out there, and finally we decided we really do need to do a feasibility study and look at it. If there's an opportunity out there that fits us, we need to take it. And so that's what really started the wheels turning for the feasibility study. And then the conclusion of the study really revealed that we do fit and that we're a great fit for the Sun Belt, so it just evolved.
Chris?
Chris Hilliard, Panthersville.com. When was the first contact made with the Sun Belt as far as when did the negotiations begin?
I don't know if there was a negotiation, but Carl, when did we have that first phone call? I can't remember.
Cheryl first contacted me in mid-January prior to my even being interviewed for the Sun Belt position and prior to me even being a candidate for the Sun Belt. And it was and it was more of I
thought you called me, actually.
It was more in my capacity as the commissioner of the Western Athletic Conference and sharing with Cheryl, knowing that they had this vision of going to FBS and trying to explain to her the landscape, trying to explain what might be happening inside the WAC that could have some trickle down. So that was the initial conversation, and I was appointed to the Sun Belt on about February 15th, and it was shortly after that we had kind of our first official Sun Belt Georgia State conversation, and we probably over the course of the last month now have been in direct communication 3 or 4 times a week.
More questions? Charles?
Charles Odom with the Associated Press for Dr. Becker and Cheryl, if necessary. Can you talk about the buyout aspect of this, and what does this mean for Georgia State and Colonial Athletic for 2012? In terms of eligibility for championships, is that affected at all?
For the current, that is a matter under discussion with the CAA at this time, is all I can say. It's, we don't know for certain at this point.
Both aspects, the buyout and eligibility change.
Oh, well, the buyout is the buyout that exists at this day. There's, we're not aware of anything different than what's in the CAA handbook, and the CAA handbook is the same handbook that was the CAA handbook a year ago and before, so there's been no change to our knowledge. We have withdrawn from the CAA. I've notified the commissioner last night that we are withdrawing from the CAA and said we would meet all of our obligations and work amicably with the CAA in our withdrawal.
Chris?
One program in particular is the men's soccer team. Sun Belt does not have a men's soccer league currently, so what would be the plans for them moving forward?
When we thought the possibility of moving to the Sun Belt was going to become a reality, I'd already sat down with our soccer coaches and really looked at what the options might be. First of all, one option might be if the Sun Belt continues to expand and there are additional teams, soccer teams from the expansion programs, and we can get an automatic ourselves. So I don't know if that's a possibility yet, but that's certainly something we'll look at. If not, then I'll sit down with our soccer coaches and we'll work at having an associated conference membership with whatever conference makes sense to us. So we've got Plan A, Plan B, and Plan C. So we'll figure that out.
I know that the study said that y'all are a natural fit with the Sun Belt, but does this move up in football and basketball necessitate any warp speed changes to facilities such as Panthersville or the sports arena or anything like that?
Well, certainly, whether we made this move or not, we've been looking to improve our facilities, and particularly with regards to Panthersville. We would like to play baseball, softball, track and field, soccer, everything much closer to downtown Atlanta. So it doesn't change anything. I mean, this is something that we're working on. We'll continue to work on until we find the right solution, but we were headed down that road regardless.
That master facility plan had been finished last spring,
yeah.
And so it's in the books. We just need to do 2 things. We need to find land and we need to find money, and then we'll build it.
That solves everything.
But seriously, that was finished, and we would love to speed it up as much as we can, but we do need to make sure we find the right land, and then we need the fundraising.
As a follow-up to needing money, what do you think the impact of this is going to be to fundraising?
Not only fundraising, I think it'll help with fundraising, but I also think it will be exciting for our fans. So I think ticket sales will increase for all of our revenue-producing sports. I think from a fundraising standpoint, there's been many folks that have said, give us a call when you decide to go FBS. We've got all their names and numbers, and so we'll be calling. So I think it's very positive.
I'm Brian Crow, the Signal. Dr. Becker, in terms of revenue, where do you think going forward the institutional support is going to be impacted? Will it be more in line with the Sunbelt members currently? And where do you think the biggest impact on revenues will be besides fundraising?
Yeah, I think the biggest impact will be through, on the football side, it'll be the game guarantees, and FBS schools are literally more than twice what they are at the FCS level. The television revenues are also substantially more than what they are in the FCS, because in the FCS you generally pay to get on TV instead of getting revenues to play. So those will be the biggest ones. Then the ticket sales will be the next. Contributions will be next. So at the end of the day, what this means is, unlike FCS schools where they rely primarily on student fees, a lot of the revenue growth going forward will come from these other sources.
More questions? Chris?
Mr. Benson, where do you stand now in terms of continuing to expand the conference, and what is the goal moving forward?
Georgia State becomes the 11th football playing member of the Sun Belt, and University of Arkansas Little Rock is a non-football member, so we're at 11 football, 12 overall, and our goal would be to certainly get to 12 on the football side. And any time that you create an imbalance, there's probably always a reason to try to get to an even number. So could there be a non-football member, another non-football member out there to balance University of Arkansas Little Rock? So I think that's a minimum. And again, when people talk about expansion and reasons to expand, and as I said earlier, you expand to get bigger, but only if you get better. And today's edition is certainly in that category. And as we look to further expand, it would be done with that same premise. There's still a lot of moving parts, and I think that we'd all be naive if we didn't know that there is a possibility that there could be movement inside the Sun Belt. And today's announcement and today's edition is more than likely is not going to be the last one that we make, regardless of what happens. But this was a timing issue, and one that is Cheryl and I and Dr. Becker got involved in just the logistics. As I reported back to the Sun Belt Board of Directors, it made just too much sense and was too perfect of a fit not to act on it right now. And so I think that's what led to a little bit earlier decision than perhaps what we would have expected even 2 weeks ago. But we will continue to be in a very proactive and a very offensive position. And again, I think today's announcement is a declaration from the Sun Belt that we expect to be a player in the BCS and in the FBS, and that this edition will allow us to reach that goal.
Doug?
Have y'all submitted the packet to the NCAA yet to move on? Was the actual invitation
I'll answer the NCAA packet. We have a laundry list of things we need to get done that will be submitted to the NCAA and postmarked by May 25th. It must be in their hands by June 1. So we'll be busy working on that. That's our next step, is to make sure we have everything done, which really shows, I believe we're required to submit our strategic plan and some other, there's just a list that I can provide you at some point if you're interested. So we'll be busy on that. We have a checklist on that all ready to roll and get that submitted by May 25th, and then we'll we'll finish out our final year in the CAA, and then we will come full bore July of 2013 for the Sun Belt. The official invitation question, that was officially extended.
Friday afternoon.
Okay, and was officially accepted.
Friday afternoon.
I'm monitoring now.
But with the hard copy letter this afternoon.
Dave, I like your job.
No, I was back here. Yeah.
But we have some great text messages between China and the United States, I want you to know.
Let me follow up on the expansion or the further changes perhaps in the membership that I think is important to, to get straight that as much as all of the conference realignment may be about football, we can't lose sight of the geography. And the Sun Belt currently, from Texas to Florida and now into Georgia, it's still important for us to maintain geographical connections, and that's as much as getting to 12 teams or 14 teams. The real importance there is to make sure that we can operate as in divisional play for all of our other sports, and to minimize the travel demands, the cost implications on travel, and to create those regional rivalries. So as we build the Sun Belt out, there is that goal to maintain the divisional play. With the loss of the University of Denver, this next year, Sun Belt will operate as an 11-team league, and the divisional play won't be as natural as it's been the last several years. So first goal is to get to 12, which Georgia State does for all of our other sports, and then to build on top of that.
Charles, you have another question?
Again, and getting back to the timeline factor of this, was there any? There's a certain wow factor to, 3 years after you're just getting started to be making this move. Was there any concern that this is too much, too fast? And in that feasibility study, did you find any precedent? Is there any? Are you setting a new path there, or are you following a path that's been blazed before by somebody that made such a move so quickly?
Oh, no. Well, first off, the feasibility study showed that it was feasible, man. It's but the answer is there are other schools that have gone down this path. I mean, I think South Alabama's on a similar timeline. UTSA, University of Texas, San Antonio is on a similar timeline. I don't remember exactly the University of South Florida timeline, but I don't think it's dramatically different. So, yeah, it's a question of getting the right people, the right leadership, building the program so that the pieces are in place so that you get an invitation like the one that we're accepting here today.
What might the travel savings be? Have you done a study that compares to see?
No, we haven't. Well,
it's in the feasibility stuff,
feasibility.
but it's not pulled out that by components. I mean,
Right.
we've got total rolled up cost per year in terms of what expenses and what revenues are, and it's rolled up in there, but we don't have it by line item.
I can get that to you, Doug, though, if you need it, in terms of the exact numbers. Because we have them. We have the exact numbers. And we've done the estimates of what the cost would be for us to travel next fall for CAA, football travel, and the charters there. So I have it all. I'll be glad to give that to you. I just can't roll it off my head right now.
Any other questions from the media? Brian?
Commissioner Benson, do you think having a presence in the Atlanta media market is going to positively impact television deals? And how far out are the television deals locked in right now?
The Sun Belt just renegotiated its existing contract last fall. However, as membership changes occur, that triggers the opportunity to reopen. And we expect to do that with ESPN. Again, I think one of the benefits that the Sun Belt Conference has going forward in football, men's basketball, is the ESPN piece. And we expect to maximize that. We expect to maximize it from an exposure standpoint and also from a revenue standpoint. The addition of Georgia State makes us a more valuable television entity, and we hope to be able to capitalize on that in kind of the next set of negotiations.
All right, that'll do it for questions from the media. I want to thank everyone for participating in today's press conference. Thank everyone, Panther Nation, for being here today. And congratulations to the newest Sun Belt Conference member, Georgia State. Members of the media, one note, you're invited to meeting room 2 right behind the podium, where one-on-ones will be available for members of our panel. Again, thank you all for attending. Travel safely.
Say hi to Ron.